If you had experience in several hotels or brands or whatever, then you may come with your own understanding and what makes sense. But in general, it's impossible to know if you are performing well.
From Hotel Tech Report, it's Hotel Tech Insider, a show about the future of hotels and the technology that powers them. Today on the show, we have Juanjo Rodriguez. Juanjo is the founder of the Hotels Network, a direct booking platform that serves over 20,000 hotel customers in over 100 countries. Juanjo is an expert on all things digital marketing, conversion rate optimization, and hotel website performance. We go deep into the weeds on the things that hotels can be doing to drive more revenue from their direct channel and talk about some of the exciting developments that the Hotels Network is working on to help their clients. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and the Hotels Network, and we'd love to just learn about how you started the business, your professional background leading into that, and kind of help us understand where you are today.
Sure. So my career has been as an entrepreneur for a pretty long time, over 20 years now. And previously, I was running a marketing agency. So I was doing a lot of work as an agency, basically creative work for consumer brands. And at some point, I wanted to go back into the product side of things and the technology, but I ended up doing basically the same thing, which is a B2B2C approach to help brands get customers only through technology now in the hotel network instead of doing through creative. But most of my experience is in marketing. And I came to hospitality, frankly, a bit by chance. I always have been very connected to tourism world because my family business has been related to tourism in the Canary Islands in Spain for a long time. So I was very familiar with the hospitality experience. And I've been myself opening doors at 3 a.m. for guests coming to an apartment when I was a kid. So I was always interested, but never professionally. But then when I was exploring the ideas in hospitality, then I went to a conference once with hoteliers to talk about marketing, which was my specialty back in the day. And talking to them in the coffee break, I realized that there was a huge need for what we're doing now, which is to help them be more efficient internally in their direct business. And from that nugget of an idea, then we created an initial product. And as they say, the rest is history.
And from what I know, the initial product was really just like a price comparison widget comparing the hotel rates versus OTAs. Is that right?
Probably. When we launched, that was half of it. The other half was notifications, dynamic notifications. So it was that era when Booking.com was doing all of this pressure marketing about 5 rooms left and 15 people booked today, etc. So we took that inspiration and we replicated that for hotels with the ability not only to do urgency, but also to deliver any type of messaging. So that's what we launched with, the price element on one side and this interaction elements on urgency messaging initially.
And so it really focused on conversion rate on the hotel website, basically, and booking engines?
Correct. For a long time has been our star metric, the conversion rate.
And I know you guys have expanded way beyond that today. How has the business evolved over the last few years and kind of product evolved?
So from this idea of just increasing conversion rates, we evolved into the idea of personalization, which is the reason behind that. When you are able to convey a different messaging and a story to every user, every potential guest that comes to the website, the chances that they are going to select you as a place to stay are higher. So that's the focus of the company. What can you do as a hotel, as a property, in order to start the personalization as early in their journey as possible? Because the idea of personalization is super native to hoteliers. When you go to the property, 100% what you want to do is to make the stay special. So we aim to do the booking phase special way before you actually get to the property. And this umbrella idea of personalization allows us to think pretty broadly about what we can build. And actually, if you look at how we are a bit different from other providers in the space, in hotel tech in general, it's because our focus is 100% on the end user. What we want to be able to do is really understand guest behavior, why they book or not, and then to influence that behavior on behalf of our clients. That's the key thing. So we think we are always internally in the company talking about people, guests, behavior, etc. And we never talk about rooms or RevPAR or the pure financial metrics, because the whole thing is understanding what happens on the mind of the user.
And evolving the products where it is today, how would you describe, so you guys started out conversion optimization, notifications plus rate comparison on hotel websites and booking engines. How has the product kind of evolved over the last few years, and where do you sit today?
We evolved into basically having two core products, the personalization one that evolved from those initial techniques into a way larger suite to basically change anything that you can think of in any step of the booking funnel, since users come to the website all the way until they book. And it's a way to deliver content, messages, prices, pictures, anything you can think of. It's like running marketing campaigns, only that they happen on your own website instead of attracting people to the website. That's the core personalization.
Would you describe that as kind of like Optimizely for hotels? Like you're able to kind of A/B test those different elements?
So Optimizely is half of it because it's focused on the idea of testing. We do all of that, plus the idea of very hospitality specific ways to convince visitors to book with you. Everything that has to do with OTA pricing, with meta search, with reviews, that's very specific to our industry. That doesn't happen in any e-commerce ones. So it's a mix of those set of techniques. Measuring is part of it, but acting is another one. Actually, our second major product is what we call Bench Direct, which is a benchmarking product for your direct channel. That's a pure analytics suite, and that allows any property to benchmark their performance in e-commerce versus the wider marketplace and competitors. Basically, to understand how your conversion rate, your demand, your user profile, your race disparities, length of stay, whatever, everything that you track in your Google Analytics, we allow you to compare that with the marketplace. And typically, when we have these two products, benchmarking, personalization, it's like a two-step approach. You learn through benchmarking to understand where are the opportunities for you to improve, and then you act on those ideas, those insights through personalization. I'm very into this idea that if you just learn through analytics, you are in the same place that you started at. So you are smarter, but you don't make any more money. So analytics on their own are not enough. You need an action tool. But if you're acting without analytics, then you are just guessing. It's guesswork. So it's hopefully you have good guesses, but no one knows. The right approach is to be able to really go deep into the understanding and execute through another set of techniques. If you had experience in several hotels or brands or whatever, then you may come with your own understanding and what makes sense. But in general, it's impossible to know if you are performing well. You have no idea what good is. That's what benchmarking is telling you. This is what good means. This is what average means. And then you can see where you are.
Do you see any trends in the benchmarking data around specific marketing agencies that are doing top funnel customer acquisition or booking engines that are performing better across their whole portfolio?
In booking engines in particular, yes, 100%. We have more than enough data to know that some booking engines systematically perform better than others. We have a pretty good data science team. And one of the things we explored is to be able to compare the technology by removing everything else about it. Because if two hotels using the same booking engine can have very different conversion rates because they happen to be different products. They are in different locations with different audiences. But we run a data science process try to remove all of these external elements and just focus on the pure performance of the technology. And then you can order the performance of the booking engines along those lines. There are quite some differences among them. So clearly some of them are performing better than others. On the client acquisition side, the same thing happens, but then the cost is another element that is very, very key. When you look at the technology itself, because there's no cost per user involved, then performance is what you're aiming for. So better conversion is always better conversion. On traffic acquisition, it's not exactly the same because it's not only the number of people you bring, it's how much you're paying for each one of them.
Are there material differences in, I guess, hotel booking patterns globally? You mentioned that when you guys started, it was in the era of like urgency messaging on booking.com, and that was what all the rage was. How have things kind of evolved? How are consumers booking travel differently on hotel websites than they did when you started the business?
We do see some differences geographically, but they are not major. So a hotel in Thailand and a hotel in LA are quite similar in the behavior of users online. The users, the people from different countries or regions, do have some small differences. For example, the people from Sweden tend to book more than other countries. Just random piece of data. That's how the world is. There's nothing really you can do to take advantage of that. No? So what we do see is that websites have been evolving and hoteliers have become way better at running their online businesses than they were 10 years ago. Clear. I think the average quality of the hotel website is way better. However, there's this saying I'm sure you're familiar with from some science fiction writer that the future is already here, but it's not evenly distributed. this is exactly what happens in the hotel industry. There are some brands that are clearly extremely advanced, running the e-commerce sites really, really well. And then there are some hotels that are 15, 20 years behind. So the difference between the underperformers and the top performers is literally 50 years of evolution. And this is because this is such a fragmented market, as we all know. There are so many hotel brands and so many properties that you cannot really talk about an average for the industry because everything happens at once.
When I worked on the hotel side, we had our marketing teams that a lot of the time would want flashy videos and animations on the homepage that really give the air of luxury. But then we found that kills conversion rate. And where's that balance, and kind of what are the best practices you see from structurally what makes a great hotel website performance wise?
So you pointed to probably one of the major conundrums in the industry. Conversion is very often not correlated to looks. An example in our industry would be the booking.com. Probably if you were to build an OTA from scratch, you would do a very different one. But turns out booking.com performs way better than any other. The tension here is that many hoteliers traditionally thought of their website as a display, as a showcase for the hotel, not as a sales tool. So if you think the website is a sales tool, where the goal is to get reservations, then you want to optimize for conversion. If you want to convey a particular image of your hotel, then you optimize for the looks of the message you are conveying. And those are kind of opposites. It's impossible to be elegant and aggressive in sales. That doesn't work. So this balance, what we find is that it depends on your self-understanding of your brand. Luxury brands tend to put a premium on how they convey their position to customers. And therefore, the website is not measured only on number of bookings, it's measured on the quality of the experience in using that. As you go for maybe 4 stars, 3 stars, and more of a mass market, then the pure e-commerce metrics become much more relevant. But this tension is always there. Whoever runs this, as the brand, the website, you have to decide very rationally where you want to position yourself, and knowing that there's a trade-off by definition between the two opposites.
Are there recent trends that you're seeing in hotel websites that are shifting, or is it pretty much similar structurally? Are there new components, new types of messaging that are really working, new layouts, anything like that you're seeing that's coming on more recently and working well for hotels?
So we haven't seen anything that is widely distributed. We do see that there's more conversion-oriented ones. So I think if there's a trend, is towards performing versus the just transmitting the looks. For example, there's less video, it's a complicated experience on the homepage. Most brands are not trying to be weird. They are trying to be simple and then more straightforward. And that's also another trend probably. Simplicity. If I have to name something that I'm really passionate about, is just to make things simpler. There's way too much complexity everywhere, and you don't want to make life hard for your guest.
What are the differences that you see if there's clients who are doing really well with you guys versus one that's not succeeding? Is it just a constant engagement with you guys, constant testing? What are those characteristic differences?
Well, the main thing is to have someone within the team where running our products is their responsibility. And it's clearly part of the job description. Typically, we find that hoteliers fall into two broad camps. Let's call them the more pro ones and the light ones. The pro ones are optimizing for features and for the power of the tool. So we offer a platform that allows you to do a million things, and maybe not 100%, but you're doing 60, 70, 80% of what you can do. And the light ones are not optimizing for power. They're optimizing for ease of use and time spent. So they prefer as a strategy to maybe get less value in exchange for spending as little time as possible with this particular product. And both are fine because that it depends on how they run the resources internally in their own brands. So we are trying to build our product in a way to serve both. For example, in our personalization product, we have a lot of features where you set them up once and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. If you then want to go for the extra 30, 40% value, then you have to be more involved and you have to try more things. Without A/B testing, it's impossible that you find the right strategy. So if you want to find something which is better than what you currently do, you have to test a few things. And no one is always right at the first attempt. That's impossible. So the more time you spend testing, the more chances you find something which is really a breakthrough versus what you're doing today. the ability to test and to be involved in actually running more campaigns and running more messages and trying to find more new opportunities. Having said that, a lot of the new products that we're bringing to the market are almost hands-free in the sense that it works for you without you doing anything else. We have these two core products, benchmarking, personalization, but we have launched in the last year a number of new things. We have a product called Safe Direct, which is an insurance product to cover travel assistance while people are traveling. And that's a very hands-free product because we take care of everything. And basically, we have a process that connects to your backend and ensures everyone that goes to the website, and that increases your conversion rate. And that's also a good example of what we want to be as a company, which is not only to give you tools to make you better as a brand, but the brand is still the same and your value proposition is the same. What we want to do is to bring you things that improve your value proposition and that we can build, because we have so many clients that for us building that and at the right cost is way easier than it would be for any hotel brand. And this travel insurance is one of those examples.
So did you guys roll that out to all of your hotel partners instantly, or is that an opt-in program on the hotels B2B side?
It's opt-in. It's available everywhere. One of the really hard things to do here is to be able to offer that worldwide, and we are able to do that. And then every hotel can opt in to be part of that program. And we are seeing, just to give you an idea on ROI, we are seeing at least 10x ROI on the product.
I always find it funny the apprehensions that hoteliers have around certain products. For the ones who haven't opted in, when you guys are doing insights interviews, what are the reasons they give for like, why wouldn't they if it's just, basically an instant, booster to their revenue?
So we found that and this is a very internal line of thought. Hoteliers have a lot of stuff on their plates. They have to run a million things. And that's hard to do. So the fact that you come up with something which does drive more revenue is not necessarily connected to, yes, I want to do it. Because I have 13 other things I have to do too. So as a company, our job is to convince you that from all of the things you could do, this one should be in your top 3.
When you're thinking about driving conversion, you can kind of create urgency messaging that's perceived risk or FOMO around booking, or you can pack value into the booking process, like what you're doing with insurance. Are there any other items that you had on the list as you were coming up with, okay, how do we pack more value into the booking experience for users? Is there anything else that's interesting that you guys are still thinking about?
Yeah. When we're thinking more from a strategy perspective, we typically pack out the things you can work on and run 3 core ideas. The first one is to make it easier to book. When you look at price comparison or review comparison, which is, okay, this is a place for you. Everyone says it's a great hotel. And you can book it here directly at a better price than anywhere else. Those are reducing your friction in the process. You don't have to go navigate, research around the internet to find out that this is actually the place for you at the right price. So that's to make it easier to book. And we have a number of potential more ideas on this less friction. Then the second part would be to make it more attractive. And this is where the pure personalization messaging comes in. If you are coming with your family to a resort, or you are coming on business to the same resort, you are a completely different user. And we want to be able to make you understand that whatever you are searching for, this is the right place. So delivering the right content, the right pictures, the right prices too, because not everyone wants to pay the same price for everything. So to make whatever you have more attractive. It's kind of strange that a website is exactly the same for every traveler, even though every traveler is different. That makes no sense whatsoever. So that's where this personalization, making it more attractive, comes in. So easy of use, less friction, 1, more attractive, pure marketing, number 2. And the third one would be this value proposition rationale, where the actual value proposition becomes better by including insurance or by having some kind of guarantee for bookers. And there's a number, we are potentially exploring a number of ideas there. Again, because what we want to do is, as a company, is to be able to bring you, let's say that you have a couple of hotels in your family, that we can build something that you can use, which you wouldn't be able to build for yourself because it's way too much work or it's too expensive. But we can do it because we split the cost across the many thousands of clients we have. So that's the other line of thinking on how to do that. And then the last piece I would say is when we look at where we can have some impact, we are looking at that from the perspective of the guest journey. When they start to think about where to travel, when they go and book, and then when they go and stay at the property, and when they leave the property and come back. In every one of those steps, potentially we can be a potentially good influence on your behalf.
Thinking about your product evolution in the future, obviously AI is top of mind for everyone right now. As you think about AI, I mean, obviously there's AI's impact on search. And so if like search traffic drops and there's less traffic to hotel websites, and there's AI in the terms of like chatbots on hotel websites, there's AI in terms of optimizations. How do you view the impact of AI on generally the hotel booking experience? Some people have said, oh, at some point we won't even book hotels. We'll just ask our AI agent what's the best hotel, and it'll go and book on our behalf or negotiate with hotels. How do you see AI impacting the hotel booking experience today and kind of in 5 years?
Today and 5 years is completely different. I think short term, long term are two completely different stories. In the short term, we have been using AI in our company for a long time. Funny enough, we used to call that machine learning instead of AI, which is actually a subset of technology. But we've been doing that for a long time. One of the things we have as a company is that we collect lots of user behavior data, and we can build algorithms with machine learning for the data. So some of our products are powered by algorithms that we build internally, and there's AI there. Then, more than, again, a silver bullet, AI becomes another tool that you use. Let me name a few examples of how we would do that. First is these predictive algorithms, understanding what users want so that you can respond to them quickly and before they even tell you or before they leave the website to go anywhere else. That's one piece. Then we use Gen AI to help create content. So if you go into our system, instead of just writing from scratch, you can have the assistant write the content of your messaging for you. Then when we are benchmarking, we find hotels that are similar to you automatically through algorithms. You don't have to say, hey, I want to track this guy. We tell you already, this is the concept. And it may be the one you think, or maybe not, because we know much more about the trends of users out there, about every property, not only your own property. So all of those things are things that we've been working for a while. And actually, just this summer, we launched a much more obvious front-end version of using AI. We launched a voice assistant. We have a new product, we call it Kit. And it's basically a receptionist with AI. You call the phone, and on the phone, you talk to a bot, an AI bot. And it can help you take reservations and can give you all information about the hotel. This is something we just started, and we are really surprised at the reception we are getting from hoteliers. Because this is covering not only the typical need we help hotels with, which is to drive more bookings, but this is also to service clients at a lower cost. Because it's way cheaper to have someone answering an automatic system answering the phone than to have an actual person answering the phone. Plus, an AI as a service, as an assistant, has an unfair advantage over a person because it can speak any language. And it always has all information in mind. And it always has every price. No one at reception will be able to match that. So the goal of the person is to respond to standard queries. The machine is much better. However, you need the person to do everything else, which is pure hospitality. But taking your data on the phone is not hospitality. A machine is just fine to do that. However, if I want to understand what makes the hotel different, to give me a really good recommendation of something, to treat me well when I get in there, it needs to be a person. It cannot be a screen. So we are in this very initial phases of this space, but it looks very, very promising. And it's like a new interface to interact with the hotel. Final point to connect to your idea. I think that yes, there would be in the long term a future in which there's a replica of you that interacts on your behalf with the rest of the world, but you still want to make a decision. So booking a hotel is very straightforward. What's hard is to choose which one. But if you know which hotel you want to book, it takes you 3 minutes. Are you going to trust your own AI assistant to make the good recommendation on your behalf? Because the thing is, everyone always has a ulterior economic motive to do something. When you go to an OTA, you can never be sure if the hotels they are showing you is because they are the best ones for you or the ones where they make the most money. Plus, hotels are so different among them that you are never sure if you are picking the right one. There's a lot of FOMO there. And your choice is different over time.
Peter Thiel always likes to ask entrepreneurs when he's investing, like, what's one thing that you believe to be true that most people around you would disagree with? Is there anything in the hotel industry or the hotel tech industry that you look around and you're like, how the F is everybody doing something this way when it's so obvious that that's wrong?
So a little bit. When you look at the wider space of hotel technology, you always get the same categories: PMS, CRS booking engine, channel manager, revenue manager. And when someone comes into the industry, they aim to build a better version of whatever that is: a better PMS, a better channel manager, a better RMS. And there's quite a few people who are actually doing that. They are indeed building a better core product. But that's looking at a space as if what we have today is the final definite version of what it could be. It can be better, but the structure is fixed. And I think that's completely missing the point. You can come and completely change what it means to book and how you build products to help book. And that's what we are doing. Actually, look, and it's interesting, what we do doesn't even have a category name. For example, in your website, you have to come up with something to group the few of us who are doing that. But there's not a common name that the industry runs around with or the hoteliers talk about as, why are you using that for your PMS? You don't say, we say, for example, growth or direct growth, to be precise. But that's our language, but there's no common language. And that's why, because we are looking at what's not there. We are really looking at the empty space. And the empty space for me is much more interesting, both as an entrepreneur to build something there, but also as a client to do something. So if you're a hotel, how much are you going to gain by switching your PMS? And I would argue that very little compared to doing something new through maybe us, some others, that are additional to what you are doing already. Is this idea of you can get a 10% improvement in your system, or you can do 10x by completely changing the approach to what you're doing. So when we are thinking about product building, we never think about building products as they are already. We are trying to say what is not there yet that we are good positioned to build.
There's not a ton of companies that started out where you started with price comparison, conversion optimization focus. How have you seen the hotels network and competitors that started in the same place end up in different places?
I think it's because make a decision when you're thinking about product evolution, product portfolio, which is to go to what the clients are telling you, or which would be like feedback driven. No? For example, if you go into traffic acquisition, it's because hotels need traffic acquisition, and they tell you, that's what I want. I need that. Do you offer that? And if you don't, you see an opportunity that you can monetize there relatively quickly because the need is there already. Or you can be what we are, which is vision driven. And vision driven means that we think of what it could be, even if no one is asking for that yet. And then from that potential future scenario, we, in an iterative process, try to find out with our clients if that were to exist, would that be interesting for them or not? Because what you cannot be is naive and say, I'm going to build something which just I came up with, and that's going to be a success, but it doesn't work that way. No? But this idea that you start with a vision, and then you adapt the vision to the real needs of the market, makes you come up with different types of products. And that's why we went into this data benchmarking and new insurance products instead of just building an Apple engine.
Well, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything else that you think we haven't covered that's important is around cookie lists or latest trends in TripAdvisor traffic, anything like that that you feel like hotels should keep top of mind right now that we haven't covered in this conversation when it comes to customer acquisition, website conversion, demand generation?
If anything, we could talk a bit about the idea of loyalty and how, as you grow as a brand, as a hotel brand, how you deal with the idea of trying to have more repeat customers. It's something that was very hard to do because for most hotels, so your clients don't repeat with you because you are once in a lifetime experience. So you have this great resort in an island, whatever, you're going to come up once. You love it, but you never come back again. However, this is changes a bit because people are traveling more, the brands are getting bigger, and when you start to have a more mass, then the idea of loyalty becomes interesting. And we are very actively exploring to help our clients understand and treat loyalty differently. And loyalty in a way which is very different from a typical points system. So we are not thinking about Hilton Honors or whatever, or Bonvoy, where it's a points based. Loyalty is not points. If anything, one of those things I think differently. For me, that's super obvious. Loyalty is me treating you well always. And you knowing that if you come to me, I'll treat you well. It's not having a points that you have to accumulate in order to change for a free night. That's a very mechanical and very short-sighted way to think about this. So this is something that more where I think what we have now and what we'll have in 5 years would be quite different, probably. I expect it to be one of the areas that will change the most. And then another great thing, which I like about the industry, is that even though we are on the technology side, but the experience of a hotel stay is as real world as you can get. By definition, it has to be an interaction between the guest and the hotel in the real world. And that allows you to be, first, that it's never going to be taken over by AI, because you cannot sleep on the AI virtual hotel. And also, it combines this doing really good things digitally for you to run your whole journey, but also to interact in the real world. And this equilibrium between the two, I think, is a great thing. And it should allow hotels to be very creative on creating that. For example, every brand that is not hospitality wants to be hospitality. We have this session we run with clients sometimes where we present them of example of consumer brands that now suddenly have hotels. So what are you doing? Why do you have the Muji hotel or the Taco Bell hotel? That makes no sense. Why are they doing that? Because they perceive brand value in the idea of hospitality. So if you guys are pure hospitality, whoa, you have to do way more than what you're doing today with that.
Absolutely. Well, this conversation has been incredible. I know our audience is going to learn a ton from you. Thanks so much for making the time. And this is great. We're excited to publish this.
My pleasure. It was fun.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Hotel Tech Insider, produced by HotelTechReport.com. Our goal with this podcast is to show you how the best in the business are leveraging technology to grow their properties and outperform the concept by using innovative digital tools and strategies. I encourage all of our listeners to go try at least one of these strategies or tools that you learned from today's episode. Successful digital transformation is all about consistent small experiments over a long period of time. So don't wait until tomorrow to try something new. Do you know a hotelier who would be great to feature on this show? Or do you think that your story would bring a lot of value to our audience? Reach out to me directly on LinkedIn by searching for Jordan Hollander. For more episodes like this, follow Hotel Tech Insider on all major streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music.